Hello and welcome to a not so awesome review, and today we are looking at the Mezco 112 Collective Green Arrow. And if you want to look at what the box looks like, here it is. And here's what the inside of the box looks like. Anyways, the figure itself is definitely not the best Mezco figure we've gotten at all. He does have his issues. He is still a really cool figure. I do still really like him, but he definitely still has his issues. But we're going to talk about... I said that backwards. We're going to talk about that in a second. I actually already filmed this review, but the lighting was so bad, I did not want to leave it at that quality, so I brought my lights, and here we are again. Anyways, as you can see, more or less everything he comes with over here. He does come with, a regular peg for the stand, which I want to talk about first because of how ridiculously hard it was to get this peg out. I have the Captain America and I have the Batman from Batman v Superman, and usually what I do, here's the stand for the Batman v Superman, is I get this piece right here, which is hard to see because of the light, this arm piece, and stick it down there, and it usually pops off. I think I can actually pop this off with my finger. This one, however, I couldn't do it. I don't know why. I ended up having to actually get this stand and just line it upright and push in to get it most of the way and then grip it and take it out. I would say be careful with the stand because it is textured. It's more of a decal instead of like this one. I mean, this one is a little bit textured, you can feel it, but this one is just everywhere. So I feel like that if anything, this is going to be way easier to scratch than this because most of this is just black with a red line. So just a heads up on that. Otherwise, stand works as you would expect it to. I really do like these stands. They're really nice. They're really strong. They have a little screw so you can tighten them up. But anyways, let's get on to the accessories and then we'll move on to the figure itself. Alright, so as you can see, accessory and hand-wise, he does come with a good amount of things. We have his bow right here, which is actually really, really nice. I do like the paint on it. The detailing on it, and has a lot of silver dry brushing on it, as does the figure. I'm gonna add that on right now, but yeah, it's really nice. The string on it is pretty strong. I've messed with it a good amount, and it does have an issue which I will talk about later, but it is, it's hanging in there. It's actually flown out of his hands a few times, so I'm still worried about the string breaking at some point, but it's pretty strong, so I will say that. The detail on it, like I said, is nice. Has this kind of like metallic green over here with a more of a I don't know the name of the color. it's a different type of green, like a oval. I know it starts with an O. Name I don't remember, but yeah, it has like kind of that more, I want to say military-ish green. It's still a little sparkly. You can see little scratches on it where they did the silver dry brushing and things. And yeah, overall it is nice. Even the string itself is green. Can't really see it on camera, but it is definitely a dark green and it looks nice. To go along with that bow, we have his arrows, which is like the first set. He has, how many is this? 6 arrows here. It's kind of a mess. You can see that in that little whole thing. 4 of them are on top and 2 on bottom, and one of the ones actually on top isn't even like lined up perfectly, so they're not lined up great. So I'm just gonna say that in case anyone's wondering. You can't pop them out, and they are definitely a lot more stiff than the arrows down here, which I'll get to in a second, but the detail on them and every arrow is really nice. You can see that they have these lines right there. The tips of them are a little bit of a more of a metallic green, and overall it's nice. I mean, you just add it in there. It looks like he has a whole bunch on his back. If you want to see what I'm talking about, you take, well, the back of the figure, stick this in there, and there you go. He has a whole bunch of arrows. So next up, we have his individual arrows. I'm going to start off with this one, which I have yet to figure out how to actually make it look like he's holding this in the string and everything, because they're all kind of sideways. They have this little notch back here where the string goes into, and I would assume that it would go in somewhere in there, but since they're all sideways, I don't know how you would do that because the string doesn't really like to stay in one position. It's a really springy string. I mean, it really can function as a working bow. Be it a small boat, it won't really do much, but yeah, as long as you don't break it, obviously, by pulling it too far back. But either way, it is cool that we got like this triple thing. If I can figure out how to use it, that would be better. If there was a little instruction manual to figure out how to use it, that would be great. I don't think there was, but yeah, it is still cool to see it. He can't hold any of these, by the way, on his person. You can kind of put it on the back of the little thing. The triple one, not so much. These other ones, like this single arrow, you can kind of just stick in there if you want. They will stick out a little bit more. The only other one that won't really fit in there that good is this grappling one, which I can't tell if these are supposed to be the same one as the before and after. I want to say no. They're actually, you can see the silver goes out a little bit different. But yeah, he has this grappling hook arrow, which would have been cool if there was a string attached to it, so we could have him like on a zip line or something. That would have been awesome. I guess this one is more of like a spear, armor piercing arrow, I guess. I really don't know. It's nice, not really too much to talk about on the detail. It still looks good. All of them have that metallic green here, and all of them have the texturing on the feathers over there. This kryptonite arrow, I'm assuming it's kryptonite. Glowing green stick. Yeah. And a regular single arrow, which, again, nothing special, but it's still pretty awesome. I actually do like how many he comes with. It's a nice amount. Definitely a good variety. Anyways, moving on to the last accessory here, we have his knife, which I really do like. The paint on it is actually really, really well done. You can see here the detail. He has these little holes going on right there, like where the handles are. Not holes, but like little, I guess, buttony things. I don't know what you want to call it. It looks really nice. My fingers look a little bit dry, but this looks really nice. Sorry about that, in case anyone's like, oh, that's disgusting. That's what happens when you're doing work. He does come with one hand to hold the knife, which, let me make sure I'm putting this in right. Yeah, you just slide it in. It goes in no problem. He holds it really good. It's a single right hand for it. There's no left hand equivalent of it. And lastly, he does have a little knife holding pouch here, so you can put the knife in there, and really you don't have to worry about it falling out, because it's not going to. It fits in pretty tight in there. Not too tight that you're scratching paint or anything, but tight enough that it's not going to fall out while you're moving the figure around or leaving it on the shelf. You can definitely rest assured that that's not coming out unless you pull it out. So yeah, like I said, knife hand. And all the gloves are done really well, by the way. They have a two-tone color going. It's like a really dark green, almost black on the knuckles and right here with all these lines, and the rest of it's a really dark green. It's nice, and I just dropped it, but it's cool. We'll just move on to the next one. I'll pick that up later. This is another right hand. I haven't actually figured out what this is for. I feel like it has something to do with the arrows, but I haven't figured out because the arrow really doesn't fit on there. And you can't hold the string with this hand, so still wondering how that one would work. We have the fist hands that come with the figure defaulted on him already, and we have these hands that are kind of like either you can use for him letting go of the string, just style posing hands if you want, or reaching around his back and grabbing an arrow kind of hands. There's one for each side of that. There's one of each for... Am I holding the right ones? No, I'm not. There's one of each for holding the actual bow, which, since these are a little bit rubbery, you know, they're a softer plastic, he can grab onto it kind of easily. Let me grab this hand. My biggest problem with this is that when you pose him around, it does tend to fall out of his hand a lot, or shoot out of his hand, or even getting him to hold this in a nice pose is really difficult. It's one of the most annoying things about this figure, is actually getting him in a pose that looks like he's about to fire his arrow. It's really hard. Now, like I said, he holds it really good. There's one hand for each side, so we can hold it on either hand, which is awesome. Same thing with these hands right here, is for the actual arrow and him pulling the strings. So what you're essentially supposed to do is grab the arrow, put it in between his fingers like so, and with the other hand he'll have the string, and there goes the arrow, but you know, you get the idea. He'll have the string there, put the arrow in between his fingers, but it is really springy. I mean, it actually does bend the plastic on the top, which I'm assuming it's supposed to do. But like I said, what I'm trying, like I've tried to pose them a few times, and a lot of it ends with discs coming unlodged on one end or the other end. Right here, he's holding onto it really good, but it does tend to come off really easily, which is a little disappointing. It almost makes me wish we had a hand and an extra bow that just held on to it already. Otherwise, you know, putting the hands on is simple. You just pop them on and off. And yeah, let's move on to the figure. So here we have the figure himself, who stands just above 6.5 inches and just about 17 millimeters. A few things to note. The hands, when you're putting them inside the peg, try and make it so the peg is a little bit more down than up, because the gauntlets do get in the way, and you can just basically end up doing something like that instead. So just a warning there. The hood itself has a wire, which is pretty cool. You know, to position it right, though, I mean, if you just leave it up like that, it looks like there's a lot of wind or something, so you need to push it down to make it look more natural. You can mess around with it. It's pretty cool. It doesn't really get in the way too much. When you turn his head, it can a little bit, but it still looks pretty cool, so I'm okay with the hood. The head itself looks really nice. I do like, it's clean. I like it. It's a really nice paint job. The mask looks really nice. The eyes look great. I do love the whited out eyes. You can see a little bit of the molding line on the hair, but not too much, and you really have to pay attention. The back of the hair looks good. Overall, the head sculpt is really great. We do have kind of painted coppery where the belt is on here. This whole piece is rubber, basically. It doesn't actually function, but it does look really nice. You can see the copper coloring around here. It does have brown with a good amount of black wash to make it look a lot more leathery. He has these little pouch thingies. I don't know what these are actually for, but they're rubbery, so you know, no fear in breaking them. His little arrow holder thing, I don't really know what it's called, the quiver, right? Maybe it's glued onto it, so it's not detachable, which, you know, I kind of wish it was in a peg or something, or I don't know, I guess the magnet wouldn't really work, but it does make me a little scared that it's going to come off. But the detail on it is really nice. You can see it has two different tones of green, that more metallic green on here and the more darker green matted color there, with some scratches on it with a silver dry brushing on it. It looks really nice. The coat itself is really nice. It does have a zipper. I haven't tried to unzip it. I'm not going to, but I think you could probably lower it just a bit more. He does have like a little black I don't know what you would call it, a cat suit or something going on there. So there's that. The stitching on it is nice. The inside of it is definitely more of a cloth material, while the outside's more of like a leathery kind of material with a nice texture on it, so it looks like leather. The arms have these molded pieces of, I guess, armor, and his gauntlets, and I'll get into that in a minute, like my issue with that. You can see he does have like a little strap there where it would hold the gauntlet on. The pants, like I said, it's like just plain black pants, catsuit looking thing. The leg armor looks awesome. Just like the arms, I didn't mention, have scratches, and the back has scratches. His leg armor has scratches with silver dry brushing. It's kind of an in-between of the shiny green metallic paint here. It's like that on the arms and the legs, but it's more of a matted version of it. I guess it's more like this color actually, but it still has a little bit of a shine to it, so that's pretty cool. The boots look awesome. Again, more scratching and dry brushing of silver on there. The bottom of his feet look cool, and Overall, the detail on him is awesome. I really do like it, down to the gloves and everything. The detail on this figure is really good. You can see where it's bunched up on here, and that's the only thing I'm not really a fan of, is that it's kind of, at least with my figure when I got it, it's kind of like sticking up like that more. If I move it around, it doesn't do it as much, but just letting you guys know. One issue with the gauntlets actually affects his articulation, which is a double jointed elbow, but that's as far as you're going to get it because of the armor kind of getting in the way right here. I wish this was more of a loose piece that we could turn, especially if you're moving his arm like that and you're moving his fist like that. It would be nice to be able to like position the gauntlet depending on which way he's moving his fist. You know, he does have straps on there, so realistically he could do that when he's moving his arm. So that would have been nice. It would have definitely helped with the double jointed elbow. But anyways, let's get into the articulation. Speaking of it, he can look up a decent amount before his head decides to pop off, which just pops on like regular. He doesn't come with an extra head, but you know, it does come off, in case you're wondering. He can look all the way around. He can look down a good amount. He does have a pivot right there. And yeah, like I said, the head is nice. I really do like the head sculpt. I wish, you know, we were getting that kind of with Marvel Legends, but obviously at the price point we're not going to. But it is really nice. The paint on it, by the way, on the skin tone is done really well. You can see the different layers of just the paint on there, so it's not just like one plain color. The arms move up a very good amount. I mean, that's like really, really good right there. Like I said, double jointed elbow kind of sucks, but he does have rotation up here. You can see the peg, or not the peg, but the joint right down there. He can't really move his arm like... He can move it a little bit more back. He does have a little bit of front movement, but not too much. I wish he had a little bit more, though these belts probably do get in the way of that if he did. His hand moves forward, not back too much because, again, of the gauntlet, and all the way around. They're nice hands. There's really nothing else to say about that. He does have a crunch, so he can lean forward a little bit and back a little bit, but not that much. And again, I think that's actually because of the belt. He can move a little bit side to side, but not too much either. And again, I think it's just because of the belt. And because of, I guess if you lift this little part of his jacket up, he can move a little bit more. You know, his feet, that's as far as they spread, but there is a problem with that, which we're getting to. He does kick up, you know, it's a pretty good amount. He kicks back a little bit. He does have double jointed knees, which is awesome. He does have an upper thigh swivel, which is good. And he does have a boot swivel. And his legs move up a little bit, barely. I mean barely. Like, almost nothing. They move back a little bit, but not much. And there's really not that much side-to-side movement at all. And I think that's all because of the armor, which kind of sucks. I mean, don't get me wrong. The ankle rotation on the Batman figure isn't that great either, but I really do wish they could find a way to make that better. I know they can find a way to make that better. I mean, the armor isn't getting in the way that much, so that's something they really need to work on. My only other complaint is the gauntlet there. And yeah, I mean, the clothes do restrict. I'm sure if the figure didn't have any of this and was made more like a Marvel Legends figure, you know, that he could spread out more and, you know, probably lean forward a little bit more and back a little bit more. But, you know, the point is the fact that he's actually has this cloth clothing, which makes it look really nice. I'm not gonna lie, I really love how these figures are coming out. But like I said, the gauntlets I think are the most disappointing thing about this. If they were just movable, or if they even just had a swivel, I think it would have made the figure just a little bit better, giving us a little bit more optioning for posing. And the legs, definitely something that needs to be fixed. Otherwise, the figure is awesome. It is a really nice looking piece. The biggest issue, like I said, is the bow and arrow part of it not being easy to do, which I'll try and demonstrate right now, just so you guys can see. You know, I'm just going to cut to it right now. Okay, so he's holding the arrow, or the bow I should say, and the problem is getting it to a position where it looks good. I mean, if you do kind of a sideways thing, it's a lot easier, but see, it's already popped out of his hand. That thumb is the kind of the hardest part to get his, like, you can get those fingers in, and then you have to kind of move his thumb in, and he'll hold it, and you can hold it like that, and you can kind of move it around a bit, like so, but it doesn't look that great. And then try and position it. I don't know. I feel like his arms really needed to move in. It is definitely the hardest thing to do with this figure, is pose him firing this thing. Get him like that. Move his head a little bit to look better. And then having to get that on there. I'm just going to set it on there. I'm not even going to bother putting it in between his fingers. But you can see, you know, he kind of has the... It looks a little bit off. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but he's definitely shooting sideways, not shooting straight. And what's probably the most disappointing thing is trying to get him in a cool archer position where he's like kind of just like shooting, let's say, forward. It's not gonna really happen. And shooting sideways, again, it just pops off so easily. I'm behind the camera, so it's a little bit harder for me right now, but I mean, it's that annoying even without the camera in front of me. So that's probably the most disappointing thing about the figure itself. Anyways, let's get on to some comparison with some other figures. I don't have a, what's it called, DC Icons figure with me, so I can't really do a comparison on that, but yeah. So here we have Green Arrow standing next to Captain America SH Figure Arts from Civil War and the Pizza Spider-Man. And, you know, I can understand the big difference between the Pizza Spider-Man and the Mezco figure, but, you know, although this is about, let's say, $25-ish to $30 more than the Captain America was at, I want to say, retail, it's crazy to see how different, like, it just at all the figures look. Especially since we do get exclusive figure arts that can range in the hundreds. It's so crazy to see the difference between these two, like, figures right here. It's really... If you saw these three, I mean, obviously, I feel like the obvious thing would be I would want the Mezco one and not the figure arts and not the Marvel Legends style, Icon style, because they're all a little bit, you know, I would put those kind of around the same range, Marvel Legends and DC Icons. But I don't know, you can see he does stand taller than them, and Spider-Man is a kind of a tall figure. Figure arts are known for being a little bit shorter. But I just want to just talk about these two, because it's crazy how these two figures, the price points and everything, I mean, yes, this one is a little bit more money than this one, but it's not that big of a difference. But when you see the figures, it is that big of a difference in terms of aesthetics and how they look. Now, granted, the way the figure arts move and everything with the... Actually, he doesn't really have that much of an angle pivot, does he? I mean... Maybe I just haven't loosened it up good enough. I don't know. He has a little bit one. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, the fact is, as cool as the figure arts are and as nice as the heads look, I feel like they can't really hold themselves to the Mezco standards. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the figure. I think it looks awesome, but definitely got to give it to Mezco here. He looks amazing. And let's just compare him to a couple other Mezco figures while we're at it. Okay, so here he is standing next to the other two Mezco figures I own. And I can definitely say he's not using the same body as Captain America or the Batman. I don't know about any of the other figures they've released, like the Star Trek ones and the Frankenstein one, which I really doubt is reusing the body from Frankenstein. I really do want that one, though. You can see, especially from the shoulders here, the differences in the sizes of all these figures. Captain America has more like bigger, bulkier build than either of these two. I mean, Batman has that bulk, but it's laid out a little bit differently. His legs are a lot more bulkier than both of these two. You can see that Green Arrows here are a lot smaller. Their height is almost exactly the same. I think Batman is actually a little bit shorter than the Green Arrow here, and Green Arrow might actually be a little bit taller than Captain America if I had his regular head on. I haven't actually checked, but it looks like he's might actually be the tallest. He's definitely the slimmest figure, and you know, proportion wise, I think he looks the best. Captain America looks a little bit weird with his shoulders coming out so far, and Batman has, it's just, I think it's his height that makes him look a little too bulky. I know he is a bulkier Batman, but he does look a little too, just a little bit, not too much. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still really like the figure, but just a little bit too much, especially compared to this figure right here in the middle. Honestly, I really want them to make like a new 52 Batman or something. I know they made the Dark Knight Batman, and I would really like to get the Dark Knight Returns Batman, not Dark Knight, but Dark Knight Returns. Or when the Justice League movie comes out, we've seen the pictures of that new Batman tactical suit. That would be awesome. Just something that isn't just so plain. I guess that's my only thing with this. I mean, it does have detail and stuff. It looks really nice, but I'm not a super big fan of the suit in general. The figure itself looks nice. The detail on the figure looks nice. I'm just not a big fan of that suit. And I would really like a comic book version of Batman that's not from Dark Knight, because again, the Dark Knight Returns Batman is a other bulkier figure. I want the kind of the traditional, either Jim Lee Hush Batman or a New 52 Greg Capullo Batman or something. That would be awesome. But anyways, you can see all three of them look great together. Obviously, if you're gonna display them by publisher, you're not gonna have Captain America with him, but still, it looks awesome. There's really nothing else to say there. So let's just move on to my final thoughts on this figure, and we will end this video. So overall, I do think this is a really good figure. I mean, he looks amazing. You can definitely get off some really nice poses like this one over here. I know I complained a little bit about it, and you know, I do wish some things were different, but it is an awesome figure. The biggest issue being the bow. Do I think it's worth the $75? Yes and no. I think a $60, $65 price tag would have been better, just because of the fact that his bow and arrow is so really difficult to maneuver. He doesn't come in an extra head, and the issue with the double jointed elbows could have been solved pretty easily. They do need to work on the ankle pivot, but that's actually just the entire line needs to. I think that the wiring on the cape was great, and I'm hoping that they do that with a Superman cape and get rid of those weird wiry things. But anyways, that is my review for the Mezco 112 Collective Green Arrow. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out my Instagram for pictures. Link is down below in the bio, and I will see you guys later. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.